Hello, welcome everybody to Mount Lupus. Diorama here, and this is the first video where I'm going to be showcasing a little bit of the Mount Lupus community, including this guy behind me, Benji, trying to sneak out a camera shot. I see you over there. Anyway, today what we're going to be doing is having a look at the magnificent Winter Palace rising up in the distance behind us. I want to do a little bit of a showcase of what I've built so far, and then I want to go over some of the things that I want to do in the future, and maybe ask for a few suggestions from what you guys at home would like to do, because I'm a little bit stuck on some things. So let's get right into it. Benji, hi. So let's get right into it, and let's have a look at the Winter Palace. Before we head in, I'd actually like to do a quick flyover of the outside of the palace. I tried to combine a lot of different shapes, both for the walls and for the rooms themselves, as well as putting up some towers to give it a little bit more dimensional interest. So as you can see, we've got the main tower that's been completed on the left-hand side, a more circular tower being put up over towards the middle, and that's all behind the main throne room that's fronted by this giant snowflake stained glass window. On the right hand side over here we've got what's going to be the living quarters, and you'll see a little bit later on where we've got to with that. And then over on the left we've got the ballroom. So if I just fly around here and approach from a different side, and we can see you've got stained glass windows and also a glass roof on the ballroom, which I think gives it a really nice open airy feel, and I can't wait to invite the other Quarrycrafters round to have a little bit of a ball. So as the sun sets behind the palace, you get this really lovely glow coming through the glass. You'll see a little bit later on as well that comes into the rooms, which I think is really beautiful. And then someone sleeps and ruins it all. That's life. Okay, so let's have a look inside the palace. Alright, so come with me, like you have a choice, up the rather puny staircase at the moment. One of the first things I want to improve is this staircase at the front. Not as grand as it should be. And if we come up, we come into the throne room. I have to say I'm really impressed myself with how these columns came out. Spent a lot of time in a creative world trying to get the right balance between something a little bit delicate but also looks like it would support the weight of the glass roof that's above here. The glass roof gives this place a little bit of light so that you actually feel like this is quite a large airy room. Well, it is large, let's face it. And at the back here we've got our throne. At the moment, this is the best design I could come up with. We'll have to see later whether I can come up with something better. I'd love to hear any suggestions. So then I decided just before Christmas that I wanted to have a ballroom. Over this side is where I built it. The floor here, I have to say, I was looking for a way to use the stained glass fog effect in one of my builds, but I hadn't ever built anything big enough, anything grand enough that it really could use it. But when I came up with this concept of having the ballroom floor being this foggy feel, it just fit. It just fit. So I decided to design the room around this floor, and you can see that starting from quite a rectangular shape, I built up the corners so that everything feels a little bit more rounded. I put a few details over at the back here, probably put a little bit more later. So you've got a lounge area for any of the guests who want to have a little bit of a rest. And if we go up the stairs, we've still got our Christmas tree up, probably should take that down, and a little viewing balcony so you can watch the guests dancing on the dance floor. I'm really looking forward to inviting some of the other Quarrycrafters to come over, have a little bit of a dance together, and have a little bit of a ball. Another feature that I really like is this waterfall feature coming down from the back of the room here. When the sun sets behind this, which I'll try and get a clip of later, it's really beautiful, really beautiful. But it's also practical, because if we head up here to this side, and try not to get stuck on the roof, this takes us up to the roof area where we can look down into the ballroom, and also the access to the tower. every palace needs to have a tower, and I want to try and have a few different towers and different tower designs built up around the palace. This was the first one that I worked on, and as you can see, I haven't done any interiors. That's a little bit of a theme throughout the palace so far. But if we head all the way up, there's a really nice spot at the top here. Everyone loves a balcony, but this one gives such a nice view of the Mount Lupus community, and you can see all the different builds that people are putting together. And even off into the distance there, you can see the witch's hut where we do our potion brewing. And off to the right here, you can see we've got the desert. And this is our mob desert, so we've got a huge mob farm, which is currently under construction. Coming out of the ballroom, and again through the throne room, if we cross over to the other side, we can see another entranceway. This leads through to the banquet hall. And you can see here we've got tables for the guests. And if we head all the way up this carpet to the back, we've got the king and queen's thrones. Not sure who the king and queen are. Where we can sit and look out over the guests, enjoying their fine food. All in all, I'm pretty pleased with how this banquet hall came out. I used quartz for the ceiling. It gives it a kind of modern-ish feel with this kind of design. But then I stuck with some spruce and magenta terracotta for the walls, or maybe this is concrete actually for the walls, because I wanted to put a little bit of colour in, and this is actually the same colour scheme that we have, if we just head up here, on the wall. You can just about see over here. And I kind of want to make that a bit of a theme running through, magenta, purpley, blues, along with the quartz obviously in the snow. A little bit of spruce wood here and there just to add a little bit of difference. But as you can see, there's still quite a lot of blank space. This wall behind here I think needs something. When we've worked out maybe an emblem for the community or work out some sort of flag or a pattern, that's probably what I'll end up putting up here. Also in all of these gaps, I think we could have a little bit more. If we head through these doors at the back, you'll see a very boring stone brick corridor. This is meant to be boring. This is just the servants' quarters and the servants' serving corridor. So through here we're going to have a kitchen and some living quarters in the upstairs section up there for the servants where they can live and work. And then they can easily access us to serve us our food. If we head out of the banquet hall and turn to our right, there's another doorway hidden at the moment. It's kind of pathetic. That's because this is very much under construction. This leads to the other tower that we saw, the large circular tower. And the idea with this is, first of all, to have a way of accessing different floors in the palace. But also I'd like to turn this into a tower library. So eventually this will be filled with books and chests with enchanted books and all those sort of things. If we keep walking up round these stairs, we get to the second level above the banquet hall, which is, as of yet, not started, I would say. All I've done is put the floor in and just left this gap around here so there's a little bit of light. The idea for this section is that we're going to have living quarters, and that's probably the first thing that I'd like to work together on in a video, and maybe get some feedback about. As you can see, it's a large open space that gives us a lot of possibilities, and we've got some really nice views, so definitely these rooms will have outstanding views over the mountains or over Mount Lupus over to this side. So there you have it. This is the Winter Palace as it stands so far. I'm really pleased with the progress I've managed to make on this in a relatively short amount of time, and I'm really looking forward to everything else that I can build into it. There's so many possibilities, and the only limiting factor is going to be time. So now we're going to go down into the palace and take a look at some ideas, see what I can come up with for the living quarters. Right, so let's get into a little bit of building. What I'd like to do today is to take a look at this cavernous area above the banquet hall. Right, so now I've got a good view of the floor space. We've got a lot of space. So this is 48 across here. That's pretty huge. And then the length here, I think, is about 64. I haven't counted it properly. I'll count that in a second. So we've got plenty of space to work with. One thing that I would definitely like to have is obviously some living areas for the members of the communities. I think I want to have those along the sides here. And they're going to be quite large. Hoping to give each person enough space that they can build a bedroom, like a little lounge area, maybe a bathroom or a walk-in wardrobe, whatever they want to choose. So I'm not going to do the interiors for each person, but I want to give a nice big space that they can then work with. They can partition how they like. So I think we'll have the main corridor running up the center. And then I also want to have some guest rooms, so if anyone else from across the server comes to visit, then they will have somewhere they can stay. And I'd like those to go across the back, I think. So what we're looking at is having a main corridor running down here, another sort of T-junction of corridor at the back leading to the guest rooms, with these sides being larger living quarters for the Mount Lupus community members. Right, so what I think I'd do is quickly lay out the main corridor here and the corridor at the back, and then see how much space we've got to work with. Okay, that looks good. So the next thing that I need to do is play around a little bit with some materials to try and get a better color palette for this thing. Let's see if we can jump onto the bed. Yes. Ta-da. I think we should start with this corridor. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to try and do basically a panel here, like this wall of this living area. If I can kind of get a feel for what I want that to be, I think that's going to help us to expand it a little bit. Let's have a look. So how tall do we want this? I think it makes sense. Let's try that height, see how that looks. Okay, right, so I think this is probably the height that we're going to want to have the rooms at, so I'm going to need a door anyway. I think that has a grand enough feeling for a main living area. So there's plenty of opportunity to get a lot of light into the room. I think one thing that's going to be quite important is to have nice big windows, because we don't want people living in the dark. And also with these views, well, not so much down here at the moment because that's just been cleared out, but with these views over the mountains and some other stuff down here, maybe like a palace garden or something along those lines, I think people are going to want to be able to see out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take out a load of this wall. Okay, yeah, that looks good. I think this is a nice sized area. Nice size. So what we will do now is basically from this point here all the way down to the end of the corridor here, I want to try and play around with a few different color schemes and see if we can't get something to work. So how about if we try looking at some stripped spruce log? So having just put that in, I'm going to take it back out. No, I already don't like that. I already don't like that with the sort of the green color in this spruce is quite strong. Right. Okay, but we'll leave it up for now. Take out this one. What about if we use spruce planks instead? Let's grab a few more of those. In the offhand, and come down like this. Okay, so that's going to be more like a kind of wood paneling feel. It's got a little bit of the green. It doesn't have so much. I think I prefer that, to be honest. The only thing I'm worried about is maybe this is going to be a little bit too dark. So maybe it'd be better to go for something more like oak, maybe, or maybe even some birch, but that might be a bit too light. Let me go grab some other woods and then we can see which one we like. I definitely prefer the lighter colour. That is way too busy. That might actually work quite well. Don't really like that colour. Don't know if I'm a big fan of all that texture. I like that. That's quite a jarring contrast. There's too much red in the jungle. That's nice. I do quite like this. That works much better. Again, I quite like that. That's too plain. That could work. The jungle would be a nice contrast. Meh. Okay then, so I've been playing around a little bit off screen and I think I've come up with a couple of designs that I quite like. So it was a bit of a revelation was taking this white terracotta. I found that with just the one colour, whether it's the blue or the magenta, it was just too overpowering, and I think with the white terracotta breaking it up, that looks a lot better. So I've kind of gone with magenta, on this side at least, magenta around the outsides with some quartz trimming. Still got the spruce in there. I think that's a nice contrast and fits with the rest of the palace. And then I've just done a little bit of decoration with some paintings just so I can get an idea of what this might look like. So essentially I've gone for 4 designs that I can't choose between at the moment. Magenta with either this sort of cross pattern or a square wall, or blue with both of those options as well. Alright then, well that's where I'm going to leave this today. I'm going to sit on it and try and decide which one looks best, or if maybe we need to try something different. I'd love to hear any feedback that you might have and would love to incorporate some of your ideas into the build in general. But for now, I'm going to sign off, so I will see you later. Bye bye.